this way. So again, it is now 6:03, so I will call the meeting to order.
So there is a quorum of the association. We had to have 11 people, obviously by proxy or in person. There is more than 11 people here, so we do have a quorum. Notice went out. You all should have received it in the mail. There was also a sign posted at the neighborhood notifying of the meeting. So we do have proof of notice.
We're good. So I'm going to motion to waive the reading of the meeting minutes. This is our first annual meeting that we've had, so there's really no meeting minutes to read, so I'm motioning to the board to waive the reading of the meeting minutes. Do I have a second? Second. Any other discussion? All right, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. All right, the ayes prevail. So we're waiving the reading of the meeting minutes.
Number 4 is election of officers. We had 3 candidate forms come in. All 3 positions were open, because we have 3 candidate forms. All 3 positions have been taken. There will not be an election. So your new board is as Brianna Johnson, Andrea Conley, and Nicole Schroeder. We will discuss their positions in the next portion of the meeting.
All right, so it is now 6:05, and I'm going to adjourn the annual meeting. Again, and now 6:05 again, and I'm going to call to order the organizational meeting.
So roll call for your board is Brianna, Andrea, and Nicole. They are all present. You do not have any meeting minutes. Nor do we have any committee reports. So at this time, we are taking volunteers for the Covenant Enforcement Committee. We need to have 3 volunteers for this that are not related to any of these ladies sitting up front. So if there's anybody here that would like to volunteer for the Covenant Enforcement Committee, basically what that will entail is if there's a violation and it gets to the 3rd violation, if they are subject to a hearing, you would be the person holding the hearing. You and 2 other members.
And if we don't get any volunteers, 3 volunteers to act as that committee, once the board enforces a fine on a specific homeowner, that notice will be sent to the association attorney. And if the attorney chooses to uphold the board's decision to fine that homeowner, then the homeowner will not only receive the fine, but also the attorney fees associated with that. So if we want to, yes.
Can you explain that again? That if 3 people don't apply, what happens?
So we have to have this covenant enforcement committee. We have to have that. So if we do not have 3 independent members of the board to volunteer to be on that committee, when the board levies a fine against a homeowner, that notice of that fine will be sent to the association attorney to collect. Now, if they deem that fine should be upheld, then that homeowner will receive that fine as well as any attorney's fees associated with them going through that process to determine whether or not that fine should be upheld. So
it's 3 board members that are.
No, it's 3 members of the community that are not related to these 3 ladies.
And they make the determination?
They just say yes or no.
Does the management company send any compliance letters to the residents?
Yes, so they will
First.
get
I
a
mean,
courtesy.
the lien doesn't come
No,
first.
it's a courtesy notice, a second notice, and then an intent to fine. And after the intent to fine, they still have 14 days to
Right.
fix the issue. And if
That's
they do
important to
not,
know. Yeah,
yes, and if they do not fix the issue,
right.
then they get a hearing notice. Or they go to the attorney.
So is there something in writing that says what those steps are?
So you'll get that information, the property manager will be there to support, I know this is probably, I know it is new to this community, what was that? But at least helping to provide
Yes,
information.
yes,
on
we
it.
would provide the committee members all 3 letters, pictures, proof of the violation, so that you guys do know that it is a legitimate violation. Yes, sir.
What kind of enforcement are we talking about that we're looking for?
So,
Violations, I mean.
I was gonna get to that, so,
Okay, sorry.
the association currently does not have any rules or regulations. The board has been working on getting those drafted and getting those to the attorney as well as the bylaws, because there were no bylaws either. Once those rules are drafted and we get the approval from the attorney on those rules and regulations, we will get those out to all homeowners. And I think there's a certain time period before they become actually
Understood.
enforceable, but they will be enforced going forward, they're not right now. Because again, we have to get those drafted and
Gotcha.
approved by the attorney. So everybody will have the specifics of, as to what's finable, a fee schedule or fine schedule, all of that information will be included in the rules and regulations.
Thank you.
Oh, can I ask a question again?
Yes, ma'am.
Are the rules of the association gonna have anything to do with the current, covenants and restrictions?
Yes.
Yes.
Are they gonna be used as a baseline?
So the rules and regulations have to coincide with all of our governing documents, they cannot contradict each other. So, our CCNRs and all of that stuff, they go into play when it comes to drafting our rules and regulations, as well as our bylaws.
So you're just asking for 3 people to help with determining what the
So you will be-
violation is, and
So-
then
so
to
once-
report that?
Once a member has received a violation, the board will have to hold a duly noticed board meeting to say, we are going to fine, we're voting to fine this member. At that point, the violation committee comes in to either uphold that fine or choose to withdraw the fine and say that that homeowner doesn't have to pay that fine. Now, what this is really just a check and balance on the board. So previously, that wasn't in play. The board can place any fines on any homeowners and not the homeowners have to pay those fines. But now there's a check and balance on that. So really, that's all it is. So we're not up here just fining homeowners. We have people independent of the board that are able to look at the fine and determine whether or not that person should be fined.
But the fine doesn't come till the 3rd step.
Yes.
Right, it sounds like you're gonna fine immediately.
No.
No, no, no.
That's what I think is important
Yeah.
for people to
Yeah.
understand,
Like I said,
the steps.
there will be a courtesy notice, a second notice, an intent to fine. After 14 days of that intent to fine, you will then be subject to going to either the attorney or the covenant enforcement committee. And if it is not fixed, then you will have a hearing, and you can go and plead your case to the covenant hearing committee.
So it's courtesy notice,
Second, and then intent to fine.
thank you.
Again, it doesn't, I'll just be frank, it doesn't really matter either way. I'm just looking at, do we want to have homeowners paying more than what the fine is? The association attorney is not cheap. I don't know how much that would be once she goes through each individual fine and has to charge for her attorney's fees for that. I don't know how much that's gonna be. But in the interest of saving homeowners, I would think we would just have volunteers to skip that process.
And also just have people undo their violation, like.
Yes.
Do what they're
To
supposed to do.
correct it.
Yeah.
To correct it,
Is the
yes.
word. Yeah, I mean, that's the easiest. Right. Thank you.
So do we have any volunteers who would like to take on that role?
One,
Okay,
Mike Shelton, 1704.
Say that again?
Mike Shelton, 1704.
We're moving, so otherwise we would, but we're moving.
Any other volunteers?
I've said I would. Sharon Lloyd, 1661.
1661,
Yes,
and you said Sharon Lloyd.
yes.
Okay. They need one more.
One more.
Teresa McCraw, 1732.
Seventeen
32.
thirty. Okay.
Okay. Thank you guys for volunteering, I really appreciate
Yes,
it.
thank you. Okay, so the next part of this is, determination of officers. So I need a motion or a nomination from the 3 board members that are currently up here for the position. So you would say, I nominate so-and-so for this position, the other remaining 2 would vote.
Okay, so I'll start first. I nominate Nicole Schroeder for secretary.
Are you seconding?
I'm seconding.
Okay, congratulations, Nicole, you are the secretary. Okay, next we need a VP or a treasurer, and then we need a president.
I nominate Brianna as president.
I second that.
All in favor? The last position is VP treasurer.
Treasurer.
I nominate Andrea Conley as treasurer.
Nicole, you second that?
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that is done. So Brianna is your president, Andrea is your treasurer, and Nicole is your secretary.
Let me skip to the volunteer.
Say what they're gonna say.
She wants to speak to it. Well, and everybody's gonna see same questions about her, so.
Okay,
She's gonna do this.
we are going to move on to landscape and insurance because I'm sure people have questions regarding the budget. So we are gonna put that as the last portion of the new business. Okay. The board has decided to stay with the current landscaper, which is Landscape Remedies. So there is no motion for that. And then you need to make a motion that you added.
Okay, so I am going to make a motion, to ratify the decision of the previous board, to opt out of the director and officer's insurance. Per our attorney's advice, we need to have the directors and officers insurance. Do I have a second? I second that.
What
I'm
was
sorry,
that?
did somebody, what was that?
We couldn't hear, I didn't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can get a little quiet, please let me know if I get quiet. So I'm doing a motion to ratify the previous board's decision to opt out of the directors and officers insurance. Per our attorney's advice, we are required to carry the directors and officers insurance, so we're now carrying that. So I put forth the motion, I'm asking for a second. Second that.
Nicole, do you agree?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Alright, so now we're up. Yep. So, it was not on here, but the board asked that we look for a new pond company. We did find one that is willing to stay within the same price range. It is First Choice Aquatics. And you just decide if you want to go with them or stay with Lake Doctors.
Yeah, so I'm going to make the motion to change vendors for our pond to First Choice Aquatics. Do I have a second? A second.
Now you can operate.
Got a question?
What is the reason for changing from the Lake Doctors to this new
So there,
company?
there may be hit, the lake doctors are subject to hidden fees, sporadic increases in their fines, where this company, they're not doing that. So just for the interest of saving money for the community and not just throwing money, out here left and right, unbeknownst to everybody, we just would rather switch to a different, pond company, so.
They'll still be coming out once a month for pond
Everything's still the same,
Yeah.
yes.
Alright.
Okay, all right, so everyone has a copy of the budget. So this is pretty straightforward, but I know some things might initiate some questions. So, if you look at the top of the budget, the assessments, what we bring in, this is a proposed budget. It is a projected budget. We do not have this money as of right now, it's what we will get over the next year. So if you look on the second line, that's pretty straightforward. Of course, we have the property management company. The legal and professional fees is for our homeowners association attorney. Under total, or on the next, underneath the next one, it is accounting and tax preparation. We are required to file taxes every year, and if that has been done, we can't find any evidence of it, so we have to start doing that. Additionally, we will be hiring a forensic accountant, and I will speak to that a little bit more later when we get into the older business. Let's see, pressure washing, under that is for the outside wall and the perimeter of the buildings. That is probably a little bit on the low side.
Well, this was just for the outside wall,
Yeah,
not the
well, the out-
building itself.
No, the outside wall goes around though, and it just seems a little bit low. It's just the perimeter wall, but it seems a little bit low. So I'm assuming that might go up a little bit.
It could fluctuate, but that is the price that we did receive.
Okay. And then for miscellaneous repairs, this would be any repairs that are needed to the common areas that are not anticipated ahead of time.
The outside wall includes the top caps, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Mhm. Rest of it is pretty self-explanatory. I'm happy to announce that despite what we were told, our dues are not going to triple. As a matter of fact, we don't have to raise our dues at all right now, because we are operating, or we project to operate with a surplus of money. So that's very good news. I'm very happy about that. We've worked very hard for that to happen. So that's very good news.
So I just need a motion from you guys to.
So is the 64, 368 per year,
That's what we bring in general assessment,
so that means that divided by 36.
would be what you pay annually, yes.
Right, and then divided by 12 is monthly.
Yes.
Correct.
So it's $149 a month.
149.
It's not gonna change.
Is that what's paid now?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a current, yeah.
And that's
We monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually.
Right, but you have to have one or the other. You can't do both.
Some people do.
Right, so if we quarterly remains, so we
Because
have to
they
have.
I gotcha.
Yes,
Okay.
so you just have to.
So what two motions would you do?
You need a motion to approve the budget and a motion to how your dues are going to be paid.
Alright, so I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the proposed budget. Do I have a second?
I second.
Questions?
And Andrea, second, please. Nicole, you agree?
I agree.
Aw. Okay. And then the second motion is how you guys are wanting us to bill your association dues.
Okay, so, I'm going to put forth the motion to have, the association bill our monthly due, or our dues monthly. Again, as homeowners, if you would like to pay ahead, you can pay ahead. But as far as for billing purposes, we are going to be collecting dues on a monthly basis. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Well, if you guys want, we can send out either coupons, or that way you have one book for all of your payments. Or we can do, quarterly statements, or monthly statements, whichever you guys choose. The booklets are easier, you get them once, it's a one-time postage fee.
You mean like making a car payment? Because I don't write the check, I send it through my financial institution.
Right, you still can do it that way.
But, so it's going in, like I made 3 payments, but I'm only seeing 2.
I'm gonna speak to that as well.
So what? Is
I'm,
that,
I'm gonna speak to that in just a little bit as far as the front steps, the
Okay.
page not being maybe accurate. Yes. I think the coupon is just for the ease of having something as a reference, you know, I'm not gonna pay this. Some people do better with that than just like, on their phone as a reminder.
but that would also increase the expense, right? If you were to mail out a booklet to everybody.
Well, we have included it in here, in the postage.
So the coupon book says $149 January. If you chose to pay quarterly like you always do, you would have to reference through your financial institution that make a little memo and that this is for January, February, March, first quarter of
Yes.
2024, whichever. And then you guys would post it accordingly for the 3 months, not that 3 months were paid in advance, not.
Well, you would just have a credit on your account for it to deduct every month.
Because everybody pays differently. Some people pay
Right.
monthly, some people pay annually. So in order for the account to be able just to, go with you one way, it'll just show up as a credit for those 2 months.
But if you want to pay in advance, you're more than welcome to do that. It'll just show as the credit on your account. Old business.
So the next portion of the agenda is old business. I have some things that I would like to speak to. After I'm done speaking, Andrea is going to speak to a little bit more of the financials. So I'll just get started. And again, I want to just say thank you to those that signed the petition and signed the recall in order to get the previous board recalled and new board in. That is the reason why we're in this position now, to be able to move forward on this HOA. I'm going to bring up the attorney's letter. I want to mention a few things about that. That letter was sent out to the previous board, and every homeowner should have received a copy of that letter. Among that letter was a list of illegalities. Number 1 being failure to pay or otherwise collect HOA dues and conflict of interest, failure to employ a property management company, failure to maintain gates, failure to contract with and obtain competitive servicer bids, building 1 repairs and associated unauthorized assessments, and breach of fiduciary duty. I would hope that after reading that letter, that you guys now understand the gravity of the situation that was going on in this community. Myself, Andrea, and Maha, another homeowner in our building, paid nearly $8,000 for that attorney. $8,000 that we are not getting back. We could get it back, but we're choosing not to. When we chose to get the attorney and we feel like forced into getting an attorney, we knew that it's something that we had to do to protect our property values. And I was going into it with the idea that I would rather spend the money on an attorney than to spend money to fix private property, which I was not going to do. So I'm not looking for any thank yous from anybody. That is because, again, when I got the attorney, it was for self-preservation, for myself. And fortunately for everybody here, it's gonna benefit you as homeowners. So again, I'm not looking for any thank yous. Some feel like we owe the previous board some gratitude. I can tell you right now, I do not owe them any gratitude, and you as homeowners do not owe them any gratitude, because they failed you as homeowners. They failed every single one of you as homeowners. Their egos allowed them to breach their fiduciary duty to you guys. So, and unfortunately, building 1 is gonna bear the brunt of that, because that special assessment was illegal. That is private property that was repaired. So if there is any sort of hostility or negative thoughts towards us as the board, the new board, I highly suggest that you redirect that to yourselves or the previous board, because they're the reason that you were in that situation, not us. We came in here brand new to the community, seeing red flags, asking questions, and getting ignored. Being told who's going to twist our arm to get us to do right. Well, I put my money where my mouth was. Andrea put her money where her mouth was. Maha supported, and we got an attorney to confirm everything that we had been saying to the previous board over several months. So I highly suggest everybody here as homeowners, educate yourself on your rights as a homeowner. There are 5 governing documents to the HOA. That includes the declaration, the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, the articles of incorporation, the bylaws, and the rules and regulations, which we're currently working on getting officiated. I want to make it clear too, we are a homeowners association, not a condominium association. As such, you as homeowners are responsible for your property, 360 of it. Your roof, your exterior, the land that it sits on, not the HOA. If we were a condo association, your property lines, when you look at your survey, would reflect as such. They don't reflect that. Look at your property lines when you pull up your survey. You own your land, you own your driveway, your backyard, your roof, your exterior, all of that is to be maintained financially by the homeowner. If we're a condo association again, our dues would reflect as such. $150 a month would not sustain being able to pay for everybody to get a new roof. Anytime there's a roof leak, anytime there's issues with the exterior, it would not sustain that. It didn't make sense. So I just want to make it clear to everybody that we are a homeowners association. You as homeowners are responsible for your property. The association has the responsibility to upkeep the property in the sense that I can mandate you, the board can mandate you to make repairs if they are affecting the aesthetics of the community. We can mandate you to make those repairs. And that would most likely, if we have the money as an association to pay for it, will come in the form of a lot assessment. That means you as the owner are responsible for paying for it. If it is anything that affects the common areas, the gates, whenever we get those, the exterior wall, anything that's considered a common area, then that will come in the form of a special assessment. So that is the reason why that special assessment was illegal, because those damages were to private property. And again, not only was it damage to private property, that damage didn't happen yesterday, it didn't happen last week, it didn't happen last month, it didn't happen last year. That is a culmination of years of neglect. And had the previous board or boards been managed by a property management company, properly managed by a property management company, homeowners in building 1 would have been given the information and been told that they needed to make the repairs when it was probably maybe a few $100s to repair it. Now you're sitting at thousands of dollars to repair it, and the previous board is looking for the whole association to pass around a donation plate for everybody to pay for. That was wholly incorrect and wrong. And again, we are working to rectify that. We're working to get everybody their money back. If you paid into that special assessment, you will be getting your money back. But this is a process. Unfortunately, it was easier to implement the illegal special assessment, and it's very hard to back out of it and get everybody their money back, but we're working towards that. Last couple things is in regards to emails. The board is respectfully asking that everybody stop sending out emails to the entire association. We now have the Front Steps app. That Front Steps app is free to register, so we highly encourage everybody to register for the Front Steps app. The only fees associated with the app are if you choose to pay your dues via checking or your checking or savings account or with a debit or credit card. There's fees associated with that. If you do not want to pay those fees, you can pay via check. Before the meeting, I posted a bulletin with the P.O. box, so you'll always have that for reference. I won't delete that. If you do have questions about the address, you can always reach out to the property manager. But if you have any questions in regards to your property, landscaping, anything like that, reach out to the property manager. That's why we're paying the property manager now. So we as the board can act as homeowners unless we're conducting board business, and you as homeowners can reach out to the property manager to get all your questions answered. I, for one, know that there was some petty emails being sent out. I understand that. I get it. It didn't get under my skin at all, and it won't. It didn't get under any of the board's skin. You're not going to do that. When we know that we're doing right, You're not gonna make us feel bad for doing right. So, but I also understand that there was emails because there was confusion in the past few months in regards to payments. Once people registered for front steps, it wasn't reflecting what you owed. I understand that, and I get that. I had no problem answering those emails. But going forward, I do ask that you use the Front Steps app. And again, we're paying the property management company for a service, so please utilize them. The types of meetings that we're gonna be having are the annual meetings and our organizational meetings. As you saw, we just had our annual meeting. We're currently holding an organizational meeting. The organizational meetings will be quarterly. Tentatively, I'm trying to work on having them Wednesdays at 6 p.m. That obviously just depends on the space and holidays. Like, we could have done it yesterday, but I didn't want to ruin people's Valentine's Day, so we had it today. And then we're also going to be having board meetings. Board meetings will be duly noticed to U.S. homeowners, but they are for the board to conduct business, not for homeowners to come in and vote. The board is the only one that votes at those meetings. It is not for homeowners to come in and disrupt. It is not for homeowners to come in and vote nay on things that go against their own best interests, which again, shouldn't surprise me because again, that's probably the reason why you guys were in the situation that you were in. You guys need to come in and just respect the process. You don't have to like me, you don't have to respect me. I don't care either way. But I'm doing what I have to do for the betterment of this community. And the fact that I paid that money, Andrea paid that money, that should be a reflection to show you guys that we're serious about what we're doing. I wouldn't have paid the money if I didn't care. I do care and I want to do it right. So again, the board meetings are for the board. They don't have to be at a time that's convenient for everybody in the association to attend. It is what's convenient for the board. So if those are on the weekend in the middle of the night, that's what we're gonna do. As long as you guys get your notice, your due notice, that's how it's gonna be conducted. The last thing that I wanna mention is landscaping. I didn't get a chance to speak to it before. So part of the reason why we chose to go with the same landscaping company is because just in the interest of keeping costs low, the quotes that we had gotten for the other landscaping companies were about $8,000 more than this landscaping company. I personally reached out to the owner of Landscape Remedies and I let her know what our expectations were from them. And she also let us know, what her expectations are from us. And one of her issues is dog droppings. And I, for one, find that absolutely disgusting. She several times has had to send homeowners or her people home because they're getting sprayed with dog feces. We're paying them for a service. If we want to get the most out of that service, I think that we should respect them and their time and not having them, again, getting sprayed with dog feces. So if you don't have a dog, this isn't for you. If you're picking up after your dog, this isn't for you. For those that are choosing not to pick up after their dogs, I've instructed the owner of the landscaping company to tell her guys not to mow the lawns of any specific lots of homeowners who have dog droppings in their yard. Those homeowners will be noticed and fined if it's not corrected.
What if somebody else's dog pooped on somebody's lawn?
Then you can, again, you can fight that. You can fight that, right? That's why we have the violation committee.
Yeah.
But I find it pretty ridiculous that we live in this community, it's a nice community, and there's homeowners that are not picking up after their dogs. So again, this is something that we want to begin to enforce, just for the betterment of the community. But lastly, again, I want to turn the page on this, and I hope that all homeowners learn and again, read your governing documents to know your rights as homeowners. And I appreciate everybody still for being here because it shows that you guys care. And again, thank you for those that did support. I do appreciate it. So I'll pass it on to Andrea.
Okay, so I know that some people were a little bit concerned going on the Front Steps app that the balance was not yet, whether it was a credit or showing that you owed something. Our accountant, our dedicated accountant to our community for the last 3 months has worked to reconcile our accounts, and she is unable to do so. The reason for that is because the previous treasurer was mobile depositing the checks, and they are untraceable. So, I'm gonna let everybody know right now, it's gonna come out in writing as well. Because of this, and because we cannot reconcile these accounts, everyone in this community is going to be required to provide proof of payment for the last 5 years. once we get the forensic accountant on board. Now, banks keep records for 7 years, so it really shouldn't be an issue to be able to go to your bank and get those records. Unfortunately, we have to do it this way because we literally have no way of determining who paid or what they paid. And this is going to go for the special assessment as well. If you paid into the special assessment, you need to provide proof of that. Also, the board has been informed from several different homeowners that there are people in this community that have not been paying their dues. So that's another reason why we are going back 5 years. That is as long as we are allowed to by law. We need the money in this community. We don't have gates. We are not where we need to be. So we will be collecting that money from everybody. As far as the special assessment is concerned and the repairs to Building 1, there's going to be a letter going out to all homeowners that is going to be referencing the attorney's letter, quoting it in part, and it's also going to be letting everybody know that the owners in Building 1 that have received repairs to their unit will be getting invoiced for those repairs. I don't have any other information right now as far as when that's going to happen or what the time frame is going to be to pay it back, but that is coming. Another thing that has become quite an issue referencing the previous boards is that by Florida statute, funds must be kept separated. General assessment dues have to be kept separate from any special assessment dues, separate accounts. And the reason for that is so that you know what money went to what. Well, that's not what happened. I know that we use special assessment dues to trim the palm trees. So we cannot use anybody's special assessment that they paid as a credit towards their general assessment dues because of that. But we are working, this is a very high priority for us to get you guys your money back. And as soon as we get the clear from the attorney as to how and when we can do that, it is a major priority for us to get that done. I also wanted to let you guys know that the PO box that we have is going to be discontinued as of March 15th. So if you mail in or if you have your bank bill pay directed to that PO box, please have it changed to the PO box in Orlando that is on the Front Steps app, as well as the bank account. Truist will be closed as of April 1st. So I know that we have a couple homeowners that have ACHs going directly to the bank. So you'll just have to notify your bank and have them redirected to the property management company.
And you'll get all that information in the coupon books and payment instructions as to where to send your payments and how to do the ACH and things like that.
All right, so I'm going to open the floor up to any questions that any homeowners have. Again, if you plan on speaking a bit, just going to have 3 minutes to speak. Again, please mention your name and your unit number, but we would like to open the floor to any questions or comments that any of the homeowners may have. Yes.
Mike Shelton, 1704. Where do we put the, send the information from our banks on our dues, previous dues that we paid?
So hold off on that. That was just kind of us
That was
giving
just
you a heads
giving
up.
you a heads up.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's just giving you a heads up. You know, if you want to go ahead and start compiling that information, go ahead. We don't have the specifics on that quite yet because we are going to be working with the accountant on the forensic accounting. But when we know, you will know, and everybody will be noticed of that. Yes.
Yeah, June Jones, 1665. There's been a lot of problems, of course, with Building 1. 4 of the units have already had the front facing redone,
Yes.
the railings removed. The rest of the unit, the other 5 units still need to be done, railings need to be removed. What is the time frame we're looking at that, and how is it going to be? You know, you mentioned something about lot assessments that we're all individually now going to have to do that. What does the homeowners association cover where it comes to that? What
This says here, the exterior, the assessments levied by the owners shall be utilized by the homeowners association for the maintenance of the exterior of the improvement of the lots, painting, cleaning, and repair. The repair, maintenance, and replacement of interior or party walls, exterior walls, and roofs. Pest control service with respect to landscaping and building interior and exterior. Of course, maintenance of all common areas, including the pool and clubhouse, which we have none. Bank service charges, bookkeeping, other reasonable expenses, and any other reasonable and necessary needs of the homeowners association. So
what is that on?
this is on the declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions and easements for Hawks Landing.
So I'll just kind of say this, as clear as I can. I know,
Speak up a little bit.
sorry, Sharon. I'll say as clear as I can. I know that before we got the attorney, I'm reading the CCNRs and I'm reading them and trying to interpret them. And that's part of the reason why we knew we had to go get the attorney, because you can read it one way, you can read it another way. I can tell you that the attorney that we have is board certified and licensed in condominium and HOA law. So her interpretation of them is that your property, your exterior roof is yours, and that is your responsibility to maintain financially, on the financial side. The HOA has the ability to enforce that, right? We have the ability to let you know your exterior is looking, the aesthetics are not matching with the rest of the community, you need to make certain repairs. So when it comes to the CCNRs, one of the things that they had told us is when there's something general followed by something specific, the specific prevails. So it starts out being very general as to what the HOA is responsible for, but it gets more specific when it talks about the different types of assessments that can be levied. Your general assessment, your special assessment, your emergency assessments, and your lot assessments. If there's any reconstruction, construction, anything done to a specific lot, it will come in the form of a lot assessment to that homeowner. Now, I will say this, with a lot assessment, that is when the HOA uses their funds to pay to fix that, whatever it is, on your lot for you, and then you as a homeowner will be billed for that and have to pay the homeowners association back. The damage to building 1 is not anything that the association was equipped to handle, ever. So we are still working with the attorney to determine for the rest of the units in building 1, because the HOA does not have the money to spend out of pocket to make those repairs, how are you as homeowners going to pay to fix that property? But I will tell you this, it's not the association's responsibility to pay for it, it's gonna be you as homeowners. So as far as the ability for us to really mandate you in the time frame on doing that, we don't know that yet. We're trying to get those questions answered.
I'd like to make a statement with what you just said, if you're done. Yeah. So even if the homeowners association did have the money to pay for it in a contingency fund, homeowners associations do not pay for private property. And that's cut and dry. And if you read on, Ms. Sharon, in the covenants, it will talk about how the homeowners association is responsible for maintaining common areas. Personal property, we are responsible for making sure that the property is maintained, not paying for it. It's very clear if you read a little bit further on that it talks about common areas that the homeowners association is wholly responsible for. Private property is either conveyed as a lot assessment or an assessment to that resident, or that owner, excuse me.
Yeah, but how do you have a lot assessment when there's one building with attached units?
Because you have property lines.
Yeah, but you've got the same roof.
So when it
How do you
comes to
separate
how do you
one part of the barrel
So
from
here's the
the
thing,
other?
you have property lines, believe it or not, you do have the property lines. Your roof of your building, you have your area of the roof, your next door neighbor has theirs, and so on. If there are any major repairs needed to the roof, such as a roof replacement, the board will enact, I believe it may be a maintenance assessment. I'm just kind of working on semantics of what exactly it is to call it.
Roof contingency, it should be a roof reserve that you have.
Okay,
Right.
we can call it that. I mean,
Well, no, that's what it should be. There
if
should
it
be
was a
roof
condominium,
reserve.
if it was a
If it was a
condominium
condo, you
association,
would have
yes.
to have that.
But they call it, so a reserve fund, that, you know, you say if you're not using this money, it's in reserve. But a reserve fund can only be used for a specific purpose, and it has to be named
Correct.
purpose. Contingency fund
Contingency,
is what we're
yeah.
calling it, because that money can be utilized as needed.
Yeah,
So if you have a problem, let's say a tornado comes through and takes the roof off of your building, the owners of that building will pay for that roof. be split among all of them.
So if one part of the roof comes off, one of the units, that building is gonna pay for that.
Nope, if
Is
it's,
what
if
you're-
it's one
I thought you
unit,
just said that, you said that the unit, the building.
If it's some sort of a situation that affects the entire building, then the entire building will split the cost of that repair after insurance covers whatever they're going to cover.
Right,
Okay.
so what
So-
does the insurance cover, homeowners insurance, that the
That depends on
association's
your
paying
homeowner's
for?
insurance. It depends on your homeowner's insurance, whatever you have.
You know, I don't think it's been clear that the association doesn't mean that it's all of the buildings, and that the fees that go into the association, right, HOA, is to be used for the building repair, the maintenance, and I think that before your building moved in, there was a misunderstanding, or that was the understanding. So it's kind of unfair to be, you know, slapping people on the hand, say, you didn't do it, just but because there was one building and people at least, you know, volunteered to help and do something. Maybe somebody didn't do something they were supposed to on the board, but I think that there's a lot of work that goes into their personal time, you know, to keep at least some things going for buildings 1 and 2 before 3 and 4 got built. So I think there was a lot of confusion about what the association is. And I think people understood it to be that the fees go to the building repair. So that's why I believe a special assessment was sent out, because that was the understanding. I don't think people did that because they thought that that's what they wanted to have happen. I think that that was the understanding, and there's been a lot of misunderstanding. So, you know, is it fair now, after 13 years, to say to them, sorry, your covenants that you read and you understood are no longer?
is it fair to those of us in building 4 that just moved in and have to pay for pre-existing damage to that building?
But that's not the point. If you, before you purchased, it should have been told to you what the association was.
Based off
We
the
read the bylaws.
CCNRs,
Or we read the
we're not
CCNRs.
responsible.
And your builder knew that there were issues with building 1, because we had estimates.
That has
from-
nothing
Okay, so let's do,
from-
all right, so
from
we're
our
gonna
homes.
back up just a little bit, because that's complete hearsay, and.
It's not hearsay. I
It
have
is
proof.
hearsay.
No, it is not
Because according
hearsay.
to our builder, yes, he knew there was damage because he gave you guys a quote for
Yeah, he
it.
did.
He had no idea you were gonna try to extend that onto the rest of the homeowners.
He did ask that question, and he asked the question. He said, the estimate that we're giving for this, is it going to be for all the homeowners, including building 4, the new residents there? The answer was yes.
Okay, well then, what I would suggest that you do is, if anybody, so first let me back up and say, of course it was a misunderstanding. You know, there was a lot of confusion, but all of this could have been avoided with a property management company.
But who knew how, who?
That's right on the front page of our
But
covenants.
they're residents. Residents volunteered to do
I'm
something.
talking about the board.
I am
people-
too.
Well, I
They're
can't,
volunteers,
I
they're
can't-
volunteers,
But you
they're on
have a
time.
responsibility when you are on the board, you
Right.
have a responsibility. One of those responsibilities is getting certified to be a board member.
Bingo. Exactly.
Was the previous board, did they get certified
Did
to
they
be board
really
members?
understand the
So,
session?
and again, that's why I spoke to it and I said, unfortunately, because of the mismanagement, the fact that there was no property management, because there was
I
no
think lack
attorney.
of knowledge rather than mismanagement.
No, it was mismanagement. It was wholly mismanagement, and because of that,
We started off with one building. We
Yeah.
started off with one
and
building.
you start off with one building,
yeah,
but you
one
have the
building.
same governing documents that we're looking at, the same governing documents that we took to the attorney and had interpreted.
But they
We
didn't have
we
an
did-
attorney.
There was an attorney, but he died.
He
Nobody
died.
was managing it. He
And
was
his
still,
name-
he
his
was.
name was on one of the letters
And
that
if
he
you
sent
had,
out.
if you
He
had
died
a property
years ago,
management
John Ross.
company, if you had a
Died
property
years ago.
management company, they would have been on top of that. Because when the agent would have passed away, guess what? Property manager would have told you, your agent passed away, you need a new agent. That wasn't done. The same documents that I'm new, just got here last year. You guys have had these documents for however long you've been here, probably longer than I did. I read them, I knew that there was a problem with it, and I took it to attorney and got it interpreted. I changed nothing. Nothing has been changed, and unfortunately, I feel bad. You guys misinterpreted it. Your previous boards misinterpreted over all these years. But this is the way that it should have been from the beginning, and unfortunately, it wasn't done that way, but you cannot penalize everybody for that. That's why I said, unfortunately, Building 1, you guys are gonna bear the brunt of that. But you have recourse. I'm not gonna tell you that you don't have recourse. We went and got an attorney. I would advise, if you don't agree with it, you can seek out an attorney. But I can tell you, we have the association attorney now, and they are advising us, and this is what it is. We can't change it.
I was told that, we've only been here for 3 years, but I was told in the years gone by that whether it was the last board or the one before, that they went to however many homeowners were there at the time and took a vote to, 1, put the gate in, 2, was to have a property management.
It's not up for, sorry to
And
interrupt
the,
you.
excuse me, and the existing people, whoever lived here at that time, 9, 1 building, 2 building, I don't know, we weren't here, turned it down. And they refused to increase, they refused to vote in a higher increase in dues. They refused to vote in a property management or the gates, because when we came in, that was the first thing that I had asked. I said, oh, hey, where's the gates? And then I heard the story about how they got destroyed or whatever. But every time in the past that they tried to get a vote in to raise the dues, it was denied. To put the gates back up, it was denied. To do the property management, everything was denied by the very homeowners that were living in here. So I personally can't blame 1 or 2 previous boards for homeowners saying no.
Right.
It's not the board's fault that the homeowners said, no, you're not raising my dues. No, we don't want a property manager.
So,
You don't know what happened for the last 12 years.
what do, if you've read the covenants, it is clear, if you want to change anything in these covenants, one of those being the property management company, one of those being the gates, you have to have a 75% vote. Maybe you guys have that. But the next step would be to go to the courthouse, and you have to get that filed as an amendment to your covenant. That was not done, and because of that, legally, yes, you still have to have a property management
They said
company.
they couldn't do that either because the association as a group couldn't afford the attorney fees, so.
Then that was on the board to
Nothing
make
was-
sure
nothing
that
else
they
was done.
raised the dues in order to meet those costs.
But they tried to raise the dues and they were turned down every time.
Yeah, every time they were
Denise,
voting.
in the covenants, it states that the board does not need approval from the homeowners to raise the dues to meet operating costs. That's in the covenants.
However, it's only, they're only allowed to raise it 15%.
Unless, so if you look at that sentence before where it says notwithstanding what has just been mentioned in section 2, that's only if they want to raise it for something other than operating costs. If the board cannot meet their operating costs because they have a budget and they are not bringing in enough money to meet their operating costs, they can raise the dues. And they can raise the dues 15% a year without homeowner approval. That was never done. So as far as the people voting to not have gates, unfortunately, it was never filed. This property is advertised as a gated community. It still is to this day. Because
The
that's what
reason
it
it
says
says
in our
advertised is
covenants.
because that's what it says in the covenants, it's what's
Well, I
filed with
read
the
them all,
courthouse.
and I agree with you on those points. I wanted to back up one step just to get a little more clarification on, if I understand correctly, each individual homeowner is responsible for their unit on the exterior walls and on their portion of the roof. Is that true?
That's true.
Okay, so let's just say, is everyone gonna use the same contractors for exterior stucco and paint, for roof? Because if,
We will have an
and
architectural
what if they
review
don't
board.
match?
That's what the, that's
We will
what
have
the
an architectural review board.
And they're correct. When we were at Chardonnay Drive, we were at Coal Ridge,
Right.
before we could paint our house, there was only certain colors you could use. You'd have to put swatch on the garage, whatever you're doing, trim, and then they had to come by and approve it. So it's gonna be the same with
But was
anybody here,
was that a
right?
single family house?
Yes.
Yeah, it was single
Very
family house.
different than.
No, we have single family units. That's what we do
That's
have.
what
I
I'm so
tried-
confused.
Yeah, I tried to show.
It'll also be in your rules and regulations as to what is approved and what is not. Your paint colors will be in there.
Okay, that I understand, but let me just give a wild example. That tomorrow it starts downpouring, and we realize that all of a sudden, the water is coming through into my kitchen.
Oh, God, don't say that.
So
Better find some
now,
wood.
I have to go get a roofer. So if I go and get Stonebridge, and if he puts that roof, fixes my whole roof just on my side, it's gonna look different from my new neighbor next door and everybody else down.
That's
How,
only if they change all the tiles.
The tiles should be able to be pretty easily matched.
Correct.
right.
They're pretty standard
Like,
tiles.
we could
So we
split
know that
hairs
they
on
don't
it
ever
and
match.
come up
Well,
with
they
these
don't match
situations.
right now,
They're not done at the same
So-
time.
Yeah, they're faded and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, the
That's
roof,
wild.
the roof is, that is not gonna be an issue as, I mean, I know you're thinking of like every possible case scenario, but that's not gonna be an issue as far as
And
matching.
same goes
the
with the
roof.
outside of the building. If we look on our outside of an end unit and we happen to notice that all the stucco is coming off that one side, we hire a company, they match the paint that you tell us, this is the paint color that you must use. Now we have 1701, our unit, that has a brand new roof and brand new paint, and all the other 8 units look terrible.
Exactly.
That's what I'm worried about.
Exactly.
That's what I'm worried about.
That's exactly.
Because if we
Again-
have a hole, we have to fix it now.
Yeah.
And the stucco's coming off, we have to fix it now. And we pay for it, and we follow the color, and we follow the correct tile that the home, the associate or property manager states. We follow all those rules, but it's gonna look fresh
You
and
did the
clean
right
and bright.
thing.
Huh?
You did the right thing. Putting it back the way they want it, that's what it should be. 2 chairs, that's your unit, that's my unit. You put yours back the way it's supposed to be, sorry, your unit looks better than mine now. That's all it's about.
Right.
I just have one last question.
Yes.
These covenants that you said the attorney interpreted, if they're, since they're different, because this does say what Sharon read, have these been rewritten and changed?
No,
Why?
We would have to have 75% vote to make any sort of changes to the covenants.
Right, but you are making changes.
We have
We
not
have
made
not
any
changed
changes.
anything.
There's nothing in that, I've mentioned, we have not changed
there's,
anything.
we have not changed
Nothing.
anything.
Well, let me just say something. If what Sharon just read,
Mhm.
which is the association is responsible for the repairs, and, you know, all the things that you mentioned, and that's in here, you're saying that's not.
If you go a couple more pages, it states that the association is responsible to maintain the community, okay? Not to pay for the community, to maintain the community. What the association is responsible for paying for is common areas. So
And again,
Common areas.
the CCNRs,
How do you paint one unit in the building and the other 8 units don't
you
get
don't,
painted?
you don't.
And
So if you
how
have
does
a
the
repair,
how does the
you
roof
make
get
the
pressure
repair.
washed? One unit
When
gets
the-
pressure washed and the other 8 does.
so we're working with the attorney on that, but from what we know is pressure washing to a building will be split between those homeowners in that specific building. Theoretically, you would be put on a schedule where all of building 1 gets power washed at one time, all of building 2 gets power washed at one time, building 3, building 4. We haven't got to that yet, but that's how it would be done, split between those buildings, those specific buildings. All of our buildings were built at different times, so we're really gonna have to split it between the buildings.
So let's just say that we wanted to get building, what, 2? We wanted to get building 2 painted? But don't you have to get the approval from the other 8 to say, yeah, we'll go ahead and let's get the whole
No.
building painted?
I don't believe
If-
so.
You see what I'm trying to say?
I can definitely, I mean, I can't answer every question, right? I can-
Because like this gentleman just said, you got one chair, okay, this one's all fixed, and this one looks like crap, but they don't have to do anything to it
So-
unless you guys tell them.
Yeah, so these
Not you guys, you know.
these specific questions for these scenarios are honestly questions that we have on a list to ask. We have to have a meeting with the attorney in a couple weeks, and we're gonna ask specifics, like one of the main things that we're kind of discussing now as a board is the iron railings. How does that work?
Right.
You have units that maybe don't need their iron railings, so take it down, Sharon, it doesn't look like you necessarily have the same water intrusion as the other units. So can we as an HOA mandate you to take down the iron railing? We don't know the specifics yet.
Right.
All we can
I
tell
get
you
it.
is, as homeowners, you guys received the attorney's letter that deemed that special assessment illegal. So we're going by what the attorney said. We now have the association attorney. that special assessment was illegal and everybody has to get their money back.
And also, I want to mention that when you're talking about painting, something that was easily damaged to it, you're not going to paint the entire unit, you're going to repair that area. So it would be the same thing with the tile on the roof. No matter who paid for it, it would still be one or two tiles that was newer than the other ones. So that's something that cannot be helped. But the point is that the special assessment was illegal. Our documents, if you read through them thoroughly and not just pick out sentences and put those sentences together and ignore what's in between them, are pretty clear that the homeowners association, it's private property. Private property. That's it. You were responsible for maintaining your own property. The homeowners association
Can you
was
say where
never.
that says that?
Sorry?
Is there a section or something that we can look at that explains that?
Did you
further?
receive the attorney's letter?
Yes.
Refer to the attorney's letter because it's all in there.
So now, because attorneys are so costly, now that we have a management company, shouldn't the management company be telling the board what the
We have to
legal
work-
issues are and
No.
not?
No, we have to have the association attorney that helps us with the legal matters. The property management company just helps with the management side of
Right,
it.
but most matters aren't legal in a community.
Most of them not, but right now we have a lot of issues, right? We have the illegal special assessment that we have to work through. The community never had any bylaws. The community never had any rules and regulations. We have to be, we have
Those are
to,
not bylaws.
They were
They were never filed.
they were never filed and recorded. They're not at the courthouse, they were never reported. So
Oh
we,
my God.
so we have to work with the attorney to make sure that understand that everything we're doing, we're trying to do the right way,
People
which is
probably
why we're
didn't know that they needed to do that.
They didn't
The
know.
developer is supposed to do it.
So
That's-
now what we're doing
That's-
is trying to rectify all this, and in order to rectify it the right way, so that we
Yes.
don't end up in a situation like this again,
Do it legally.
is we do it legally with the attorney. We don't anticipate in the years to come that
Right.
association dues will be that high. Right now, they may be a little bit high because we have a lot going on. We have to meet with the attorneys pretty frequently to get our questions answered, to figure out how to proceed forward. There's different steps to this. So we're trying to keep the cost low, don't
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah, we're not talking to them unless we
Yeah.
absolutely.
Unless we
Yeah,
have
I don't
to,
blame them.
unless we have to,
Yeah.
we're not
But
trying.
after everything is clear, then the management company should be
Yes.
Yes.
You will
having a
only
relationship
need,
with the board and
Yes.
having meetings,
Yes.
board meetings, and
Right.
board meetings are allowed to be attended by residents.
Yes,
They
yes.
just, by Robert's rules, you can't really
Yes,
talk
right.
until you're at
That's
that
correct.
part
yes,
of the
yes,
agenda, and you can only talk about what's
Yes.
on the agenda.
yes.
But they are allowed to come to board.
Yes,
Yes.
you are allowed to come to board meetings, and you will receive due notice for those
Right,
meetings.
2 weeks or something.
Yes, and
3
well,
days.
for the board meetings, it's 2 days,
2
2
days,
hours,
yeah.
2 days. Our bylaws will be more specific to that.
Right.
But again, with the property management company and the attorneys, we all work together. Again,
Right.
if everything was established and we didn't have these issues, it would be more of just us working with
Yeah.
the property management company. But we have a lot of things that were wrong, and we're trying to rectify,
You know,
we want to
just-
do it the legal way.
No, you're absolutely right, and think about it though, you had one building, you had people living in it, who have no experience on boards, don't really understand, these are not just, these are legal documents. It's not just you and I can read this and say, oh yeah, it's very clear, that's why you need an attorney. So when you think about the poor people who lived in the building, number one, trying to make apples and oranges out of this, doing the best they can, taking their personal time to do what they thought was right, like when there was damage, they thought that it was the association that paid for the buildings, right? Because it wasn't clear, and this apparently didn't make it clear. And, how many people read their, I mean, not many.
As a board
So-
member, you were supposed to, you were required.
Well, as a
to.
board member, yeah, but they didn't know what that board, what you're not getting is, it was simply residents who said, I'll do what I can, I'll help, I'll volunteer.
But it's still just residents, if you look at that. I was
Absolutely,
just a resident
absolutely.
when I went and did that.
Absolutely
And
right.
the main reason why I
Right.
mentioned that it was mismanaged is because, again, when we came in here, I know a lot of you guys saw the emails. We were pointing these things out to the board. They were digging their heels in, telling us who's gonna twist our arm and force us to do this. As board members, they have a fiduciary duty to us.
That's the main.
And if we're pointing things out to them as a board, they have a responsibility to make sure that what they're doing is correct. I pointed out to the board members, who did you speak to? Who advised you that this special assessment was legal? Who advised you? No answers.
I don't think
Nothing.
they saw it as illegal or not legal, I think they saw it as what their understanding is.
So I'd like to speak to that.
Yeah.
So we have, a board member saying, well, we really have no idea what we were doing, but then on the other hand saying, well, this is just the way it is. You can't have it both ways. If you don't know what you're doing and you don't know what you're doing, then you get a property management company that advises you on what the laws are. The laws for homeowners associations change every year. So you have to have someone who is constantly looking at these and knows
Well,
what
that's
is going
true.
on and how to interpret that.
But the process of finding a management company. when
There's
you're a
tons of
resident-
management
No,
companies out
But
there.
you can't just say, oh, hey, you need to get different rates, you need to
That was
interview
that ever
them.
done in the past?
No, I don't know if it was done now,
Yes.
but, you should be able to say, this is our, requirements. Can you meet those requirements, management company one, management company two?
That's exactly what we did. We got the management company
But
on
these
board
folks
quick.
didn't know that. You had the ability to know that.
How did
because
we
you
have
had
the
an
ability to
attorney.
know that?
You had
I
an
had
attorney
this-
tell
But
you.
before we even
Yeah.
had the attorney, we were telling them that we're required to have a
Yeah.
property management
Yeah.
company.
Well,
They
so what
dug,
are they gonna do
they
with
dug
that?
their heels in.
Get a property management company. All we asked was that they follow the rules and
Yeah.
that are laid forth in the
Yeah.
covenants and restrictions.
Well,
And when it became obvious that that wasn't gonna happen, that is when we retained an attorney.
yeah.
I'm just gonna change the subject. Is the Front Steps app, is that ready now? I mean, is that, I'm standing in for my daughter.
As far as when
Kelsey
you're
Robertson.
looking at the amount due, or are
I
you
don't
talking
know,
about
she
just?
just, Kelsey Robertson, 1712,
Uh-huh.
Kelsey Ivy, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. Kelly Robertson, but, she wanted me to ask, she pays quarterly,
Mhm.
so she can go ahead and set up, she said she didn't know, exactly how to,
Yes,
where she
she,
needs to go.
on the Front Steps app, she can go in there, she can set the amount. She
Okay.
can set, I think you can set like the time period, the frequency of when you want that
Okay.
payment set up. You should be able to do that. I would probably have to talk to the accountant, what's showing on the Front Steps out, I don't know is wholly accurate for everybody. Because again, we have to have the forensic accounting because there was not enough records for us to reconcile everything. That's why it kind of took us forever to have this annual meeting because we were hoping that we could get it reconciled. But the accountant made it clear, I cannot reconcile this. I don't have the time or the capacity to do it, so we're going to have to pay to get our accounts reconciled.
So is the management company now gonna be handling the financials for the association? So then you won't have to hire an accountant, right?
Well, you still have to hire an accountant for your end of the year taxes
Well,
and
yeah,
audit
that,
and things
I'm not
like
talking
that.
about that, I'm talking about the everyday monthly financial
Yes,
report.
we do.
You're
Our
gonna be doing
CFO does handle
that.
that.
Right, yes.
The forensic accountant is to be able to
The
put
problems
together.
from before.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes, to clean all
Yes.
that. I
So
get it.
there won't be a charge as large in the future.
Right. Just trying to understand.
Yes.
I just need a little more understanding with these declarations, what is it, I'm assuming these are still legally binding?
Yeah.
The declaration of covenants, okay, so where it says, what Sharon had read, where it says the repair, maintenance, and replacement of interior or party walls, exterior walls, and roofs. I'm trying to understand how that is not pertinent. I mean, can both be true, that that is the case, and also common areas? Does
So-
one preclude the other? I mean, can't they be this?
So here's, we came in, we gave the attorneys the documents, because we were confused as well in reading them. We weren't 1,000% sure because it is kind of gray. Their interpretation is, and this just goes for pretty much all legal documents, when you have something general followed by specific, the specific prevails. So what you guys are reading is considered general. When you get down to the types of assessments, how the association is going to bill homeowners, you have the special assessment, you have the lot assessment, you have the general assessment, and emergency assessment. If it is a common area, which the exteriors are not common areas, and she stated that in the attorney's letter, the exterior walls are not considered common areas. If it's a common area, it's a special assessment. If it's anything that pertains to a specific lot, so within your lot lines, that would come in the form of a lot assessment.
So it spells that out here?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you
Yeah,
show me
refer
where?
to the attorney's letter. She actually takes out the pieces
Oh,
and then
it's been a while
explains them.
since she said
Yeah,
that.
she actually cuts and pastes parts of the covenants, and then there's an
I
explanation
know where it
below
is. I just won't be able to pull it
I'm reading it as it can be
Yeah.
both, you know.
That's why
I'm
it's
not, to me, it doesn't look like one precludes the other, so that's my understanding.
Well, the common areas are areas that are available for anybody
I
to
understand
occupy.
that, yeah.
You know, so, I mean, one doesn't necessarily preclude the other one, but. Go
So
ahead.
I would take a look at page 8, section 3. And it breaks down all the different types of assessments the association can levy on a homeowner.
But on that same page, the top of the page is talking about if a homeowner or any of its friends or family members or anybody damages any part of the lot, which is also referred to as a house or a building in the definitions, that could be a lot assessment. And then it goes on later in the page, as you were gonna read about page 8, where it defines the lot assessment.
Sorry, go ahead.
So I understand that it is, you can read it different ways, because it talks about the what is
Which
explained
which
here.
again is why we have the association attorney to make the determination on looking at these documents, what they exactly mean, what do they mean? And she has made the determination again.
That doesn't mean it's the way.
But she was hired by individual residents.
She was hired by individual
So it's a
residents, but
little bit of-
we also have the association attorney. And again, if you as residents do not feel as though you agree with it, you have the same recourse that we did as homeowners. And you can reach out to your own attorney and you can find it that way. But again, we didn't just pick any fly-by-night attorney, we picked one that specializes in this.
Yes.
And we went to them with questions. They honestly didn't believe anything that we were saying until we gave them the documents.
So who is the association attorney?
Christine Earl,
She is part of what company?
Fisher Telsey.
Oh, that's the one that
In
they.
Jacksonville.
So this is the one you hired also?
So the way we did it is myself, Andrea, and Maha signed an engagement letter for them to work on behalf of us. And that is how we got that attorney's letter. They reviewed the documents and that's how we got the attorney's letter. That was the
Right.
determination. We disengaged with them as individual owners and we re-engaged with them as an association. So now they work on behalf of the entire association. So understand that they're looking at us as an association. They're not here to work for me personally or Andrea personally. They're still looking at our documents for what they are and advising us as such.
Right, okay. So they were yours, now they're the association.
Mhm.
Same, okay.
And that is not a conflict of interest.
Do you guys know these attorneys personally?
No.
None of you?
I have actually worked with Christine Ertl in the past within a different association. She was with Ansbacher Law previously.
Yeah, we would have to disclose if there was any conflict of interest with any of the vendors, and this is my first time ever even dealing with an attorney on that, on this level at all. So no, didn't know the attorney prior to that. I believe we were recommended different attorneys, and this is just one of the ones that we called and got a free consult with, and they seemed pretty good, so we decided to work with them.
At what point does it say that it should have been turned over to a management
On
company?
the first page.
The very first
I mean, how
It
how
says-
does that, like, at the end of construction, when it went from the builders
The
to?
developer is the
The developer.
Because typically when 75% is occupied.
Well, that was my question because, because it's been in sections that the community, and it's been long spans in between. So I wasn't clear on what point it should have actually.
So if you read what it says, when it discusses that, it says, to assure all matters are professionally administered after the homeowners association is transferred to the homeowners. So once Class B membership, is it Class B membership? Once that's terminated,
Class A membership is terminated. We're Class B membership.
Class A membership, I'm sorry, Class A membership is terminated and handed over to the homeowners, then at that point, there should have been a property management company that was utilized.
So do you have a letter that says that?
It says it in our covenants.
No. From the developer to the homeowners association, it says something, once he turns it, well, where's that document at?
So let me go to the page where it talks about the termination of membership. 1 second, please. After Class B membership is terminated, there must be approvals. Okay, it says, where does it say Class A membership? At a certain point, once a certain number of units are occupied, then at that point, their membership is automatically terminated. Like, there doesn't necessarily need to be a letter or anything, it's automatically terminated. Let me see.
Well, the property man, the developer killed himself before the building was finished.
The second one died.
Now, the second one died.
Now I
I
understand.
think we got a pattern going on.
Yeah. I think he knew more than.
So it says Class B membership shall cease when the developer has conveyed 100% of the lots within the property, or when the developer in its sole discretion elects to terminate its Class B membership, whichever shall occur first. Upon its termination of its Class B membership, the developer shall be a Class B member so long as it owns any lots.
So, a lot of the buildings that haven't been built, didn't the developer own those lots? Nobody knows.
Yeah, and again, some of these questions I can't answer.
No, I know, and
I can't
they
answer.
couldn't either.
Yes, and if it's anything that really pertains, it's an issue, we'll ask an attorney that question. But again,
Doesn't change anything.
understand that they've already read through these documents in their entirety.
Yeah.
And this, now, we as an association can vote to amend things to make them more clear and concise. I asked the attorney that. If it's not clear, we want it more concise, can we amend that? Yes, we would have to have 75% vote to do that. And when we amend it, again, we would have to have the agreement of the majority of the community to do that. Now, as far as changing it to mean a certain thing, I don't believe that you can retroactive say, change it, and then now all of a sudden, the special assessment is now legal. You can't necessarily do that.
Right, but I think the rules and regulations that you're going to
Yes.
write should come pulled
Yes,
from here.
yes, they will,
Summary
they will, and
for the
that's
residents.
part of the reason why we have to, when we draft
Yeah.
those rules and regulations, we have to get them to the attorney, because she's
Right.
going to compare them against all of the rest of our governing
Make
documents,
sure it's
because they cannot
consistent.
contradict each
Right.
other. And the rules and regulations that we're putting in place are not anything crazy.
Like parking,
What we did is we kind of mirrored a community that's similar to ours,
Mhm.
and just kind of
Yeah.
tailor them specifically to ours. They're not crazy rules, but as an association, you need to have rules and regulations.
Sure.
That's just what it is.
Yeah.
We know we're just a small 36-unit community. We don't plan on being violation assassins out there on everything. We understand that. But we have to have some sort of
Yeah.
rules within the community to make
Well,
sure that we're.
and I would just throw out to you that if, once the first building was developed and built, what if no one in that building wanted to do anything? Let's say they didn't volunteer.
You would have to contract out the board, right? So like, let's just say.
I would, who would be the developer should have done that, I'm thinking, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? These are people who are.
I get it, I
just
get
moved
it,
in.
I get it, but again, we all sign the same documents, and
It's, yeah.
when an association is sued or anything like that, unfortunately, that money comes from the homeowners. So that's why I say all homeowners have a responsibility to read the documents and know what's going on. That's my main thing to convey to everybody, is read the documents and know what's going on, so we don't run into these issues again. You know, this is time consuming, it's a lot. Again, I'm not doing it for any thank yous or anything like that. All I want to do is get it fixed so I can just live my life as a regular homeowner.
Agree.
Um,
I agree.
Yeah, so, I know it's been contentious, I get that, but we are just trying to get things right. I feel bad for those in building one that now have this big bill that they're gonna have to pay. I feel bad about it. If I could eliminate it for them, I would, but I can't do that. Legally, this is what it is. If you as homeowners in building one don't agree with it, again, I suggest that you guys seek out an attorney, and maybe you get your questions answered and you can fight it in any way, shape, or form that they deem appropriate. But as an association, we have an association attorney, and we are being advised every step of the way on how this is supposed to be corrected, and that's what we're doing.
A lot of this were sold places based on the belief that the outside walls are covered by the homeowners association.
And part of that was that we looked at that as, and the roof, of course, the roof has been the biggest problem other than building one. But the thinking that the board had was, this affects, whatever happens to this roof here affects every other roof. And you say, okay, well, this tile's now clean and new, so, but we didn't want to do it that way. We thought, no, if it's going to be something that's going to affect the property values of everybody there, then we all pull together. That's what we do, and that's what we've always done. When I first moved in, we had 18 units, building 1 and 2. That was good for years, until building 3 came in. And to get the property management company, like you guys are saying, at that point in time, that was not feasible. And nobody would vote for it. Nobody would come in and say, yeah, let's do this. 1701, the guy that lived there, he wanted to do that, and he went out and he got the quotes and all that. We had a meeting, everybody looked at it, and everybody said, no, we don't need to do this, because we were an 18-unit community. And so why are we going to spend this extra money to do the same thing that a property management company could do, whether right or wrong, whether by the covenants or not? It was 18 units, 18 people paying for this stuff, so, well, we don't want to pay anymore. All I'm doing is paying the landscaper and paying the guys to clean up the pond. We don't need to bring somebody else in to do that. But now that it's 36 units, we have a complete property. I'm with you. I think it's good that we, and this was the time to bring it in, was at that point, when the community was complete. The other decisions we made, I'll tell you, and we weren't trained, you know, I'm a retiree. You know, Daniel, the president, he works at the Georgia Pacific, and on and on and on. So the things that were done, we did have everybody in mind, and nobody ever volunteered to do anything.
We're seeing that.
It's a thankless
Oh,
job.
yeah, we never did.
It's a thankless job that they did, and it's gonna be a thankless job that you're gonna do probably.
Well, yeah, and that's just the nature of the position.
You know, it is, it's just the way it is.
You make tough decisions, and you make the tough decisions, and then you move on. You make, based on the best information you have, make the decision, move forward.
Yeah,
That's-
that's what we're doing,
that's what we're
doing, but again, unfortunately, there's ramifications to those decisions, whether or not they were intentional or not, and that's kind of where we're at right now, so.
It had always been discussed that when the community was complete, the 4 buildings, that we would go to a property management company. It had been discussed before. Yeah, anyway.
We're moving in that direction now.
So, again, we'll be holding these meetings quarterly. As we're getting information from the attorney, if there's anything that the board needs to announce, the board needs to vote on, we'll have a duly notice board meeting, everybody will be receiving minutes. So understand that we're erring on the side of transparency, and everything that we know, you guys will know as well as we get that information. So again, if you have any questions, please reach out to the property manager via the front steps app. That's just my one request.
Oh, no, don't reach out via that. Call us or
Oh, you
email
want to
us.
give them the direct line?
Yes, call us or email us because Front Steps does not always notify us.
Okay.
So,
Can you put your information on Front Steps? Like
Yes.
you did for the, one of the meetings is on there?
yes.
Okay. That way
It'll be
okay.
under the public contacts, under information.
So residents should contact you if they have an issue with something in their.
Right, so if you have an issue with your accounting or an issue with things in general,
Landscaping.
right, contact us.
Or the pond, or.
And
Yeah.
is that information you said was on Front Steps app?
Yes.
It is?
Your daughter should have received an email from
Okay.
Front Steps directly,
Okay,
inviting her to join.
gotcha. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Moving forward, now that we've addressed all the issues in the past and whatnot, we're getting all squared away.
Yes.
What is gonna be the protocol again if, we're trying to sell a house? I mean, is the new owners gonna hear about all of this stuff that's going on, it hasn't been going on in the past?
We are only legally responsible. We're only legally responsible to tell them if there is a special assessment or if there is any litigation going on.
Gotcha.
Which there's not.
Oh,
Correct.
cool.
Right.
Okay.
If
I'm
the
just gonna address,
litigation
I'm gonna address
will
everything to
really
Andrew.
stop our sales.
Right. No, yeah, just, they can go to estoppels.com, put your address in and order the estoppel that way and get
And you
it.
would give the realtor all the information that he needed to close the books and do the closing and whatnot?
So this may take place like in May, and I don't know if you'll have, not necessarily new bylaws and covenants restriction, but more clarified version of it? Is that gonna be done by a potential sale in May? So that
What-
the new owners will be able to receive all of the appropriate documents?
As they are updated and approved and filed with the courts, they will be posted on your Front Steps portal and also on estoppels.com. So when your realtor is going through those process, they can order the documents that way as well. Or they can see them on the clerk of court website.
Well, what if they're only seeing the ones we've had?
That's
Forever.
correct. Right, so then they wouldn't have been recorded yet.
Yeah,
We
so,
only
but we're
update
we're
as they're
actively
recorded.
working right now on getting those sent over to the attorney. I don't know what the attorney timeframe is on reviewing them and getting them back to us so we can file them with the courthouse. I don't know that.
It must not be an issue because Jenny and Alex
Exactly.
are sold, so.
Exactly.
Okay, it was just a question, now we have all
Yeah, yeah.
new members and whatnot. Thank you.
Anything else?
I have a separate issue since the property manager is here. As far as the sprinkler systems, for building number 1, the front sprinkler systems, they're not on at all. I do see them on across the way in building 4, coming on once a week, but I don't see ours at all.
Building
Building
two.
one.
Is it all of building 1? or
The
just-
front sprinkler systems, I hear the back ones on at night. but
The front used to come on at like
not
6 in the
working at
morning.
all.
Well, the landscaping contract does include irrigation, and they are to be checking those once a month. Yeah, like once a month, so they will, we'll notify them and make sure that they check those next time.
Building 2 as well, they have
Okay,
been on for
well,
the
they're
last
supposed to
week.
check all of them, so I'm sure they will once we tell them.
But we'll let
Whenever we
them
get
know.
into the spring of the year in March, April,
Yeah.
we'll start to need them, on pretty much, but.
They'll be notified.
One other issue I had, my mailbox has actually gotten hit somehow, and I've been seeing when people are driving, coming out of their driveways from building 4 coming across, I have a feeling mine was hit by one of the residents. I don't have any proof, didn't see it, but I have seen people coming very close to the mailbox, and now it's tilted sideways. So just want to make mention that everybody be careful when they're backing out, that they're not, go coming out.
The library will close in 30 minutes at 8 o'clock.
Just that everybody's careful with backing out, watching out for other people's mailboxes.
Well, if we don't have any more questions, thank you, Jim, as well.
Good recording, is that gonna be shared?
Yes.
Okay. On
So,
steps then?
I don't know if we can.
I don't
put it on
think
there. So, again, we don't have to share them, but we want transparency, so what I'm trying to do is get everything uploaded to like a YouTube page for the association. And I don't know if everybody has Facebook, but I can upload it to the Facebook account. Other than that, if you send out an email and you request a link, I can send out a link, but again, that was the whole point of us recording, just so people will have access to them, especially those that aren't able to attend.
So that's gonna be recorded each time?
We will be recording each time. We have to work a little bit on the mechanism of recording because we only have, some of the devices only have so much memory, so we have to figure out, we don't want to charge anything to the association, so we'll figure something out.
So if it's not an individual that wants to keep the recording, can it just be put on,
That's what she said.
on the Hawks Landing?
Yeah, what she said.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I
yeah.
didn't hear that.
Yeah, I will share it to the Facebook page. I just don't know if everybody has it, so if somebody requests it via email, I don't mind sending out the link to that. But again, thank you to those that volunteered to be on our special committee. Thank you for attending. I'm hoping that we turn the page on a lot of this and we can move forward, and all the other future meetings be a lot less contentious. But again, as a new board, we do appreciate everybody for attending.
One last question before we close, I'm sorry. On the rules and regulations for the association, we never had one, so someone's writing that up and they're doing it by another, or they're doing it, or?
Well, they're typing them up, and then they'll be sent over to the attorney to make sure they don't contradict with the
I'm just wondering
attorney.
what the rules and regulations.
So the board is able to create rules and regulations to the community, and that's what we're doing, but again, this is not kind of coming from us, that's why I want to base it off another community, so
There
so
you
we're
go.
not the
Yeah,
ones
that's
kind of
fine.
typing
Yeah.
up. A community that's similar to ours, but there's some things that we kind of had to tailor specific to our community, like the types of gates and stuff that you can put up in the yard, but they're reasonable rules, nothing crazy, but they do have to start being, rules have to start being enforced on things, so.
It's more the day-to-day things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, again, thank you guys, I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Adjourn. Oh, sorry, it is now 7:32, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting, so, thank you.